Alright, so the reigning MVP, who's expected by many to win it yet again this year, is fresh off yet another loss in the playoffs before the finals, with underwhelming postseason play on his part following a great regular season. And because of this, so many NBA fans, most of them not Bucks fans of course, are starting to really consider him to be grouped in the superstar club that are really just regular season players. On top of that, the memes clowning the man are endless. I mean, it always happens really. Some fans just cannot wait to praise a breakout player on the way to the top, and then as soon as a player gets their first couple stumbles, they just write off their career as a disappointment. Except there's one thing that it seems like a lot of these people are forgetting, and that is that Giannis is just 25 and will just be turning 26 in December. But I know you cannot just point at age whenever a young player underperforms, especially when everyone has been hyping them up. Instead, you have to go off what they've done up to this point, knowing they still have time to shape their career narrative in a better way. So that's why I'm making this video. Title may seem harsh, but hey, it's the reality of the situation. But real quick, another thing that's been a big deal regarding Giannis lately is that he unfollowed the Bucks and all his teammates, strengthening the idea of him leaving in the mind of so many fans. And I was gonna make this video mainly about that, but after learning he did the same thing last year after losing to the Raptors in 6, I'm not gonna jump on the he's leaving wagon just yet, although I will mention it a little later on. Anyway, yeah, today I'm gonna get into whether or not Giannis, the Greek freak, is becoming a known playoff choker at this current state of his career. But before I do, man, if you're new, subscribe. If you think Giannis is still a top 5 player, which you should, sub up, man. I'm posting quality hoops content twice a week, maybe even 3 times. I'm trying to grow the channel. Thanks to all the new subs also, bro. We steady growing. But back to the vid. So like I said in the intro, this year Giannis and the Bucks were eliminated yet again before they could go deep in the playoffs, like making the finals. Except at least last year they made the Eastern Conference Finals and went 6 games with the Kawhi-led Raptors, where Giannis also did not play the greatest. But hey, Kawhi and that Raptors team was no joke. And I know it's more complex than that, but let's say even if we were to give him that pass, this year they lost to the 5th seed Miami Heat after just 5 games in the second round. And yes, Miami does play better than their seeding may seem, but still, they were definitely not expected by most to beat the Bucks. Also, yes, Giannis was injured to the point where he did not play in Game 5 and barely did in Game 4, but the Bucks were already down 0-2 by Game 3 with Giannis playing in those first 2 games before he was compromised in Game 3 and then was officially done in Game 4 where he re-injured his ankle. And y'all may want that Giannis slander, but real quick in his defense, he was on pace to have his greatest game of the series as he had 19 points in the first quarter alone. Y'all not trying to hear that though. So for the 2020 playoffs overall, he averaged about 27 points, 6 assists, and 14 rebounds on 55% shooting from the field. And at a glance, that sounds amazing. Like, how could anyone possibly refer to that as a choke job? Well, that's where context comes in, but even still, I will say Giannis underperformed more so than just having a flat-out choke. Because as you will see, he didn't do anything significantly different from his MVP caliber season this year in terms of how he scores the ball and asserts his dominance. The reality is that it just no longer worked so well in these playoffs, similarly to last year's playoffs, and he simply could not and did not adapt as an MVP player of his stature probably should have. And I won't lie, that does probably fall on Coach Budenholzer. But yeah, as far as context goes, his seemingly amazing playoff averages look worse when you realize in the second round against the only competition he really got to face in the playoffs, which are the Heat, he averages 22 points, 5 assists, and 11 rebounds on yet again 55% shooting, which isn't terrible, but when you average 36 and 14 in the regular season, just dominating, it's a disappointment. Yeah, your averages are bound to drop off in the postseason, but it shouldn't be that much. Not to mention, his free throw shooting, which already isn't good at 63% in the regular season, fell to 52% versus the Heat in the second round. Moving on though, because I'm tired of talking about stats, what I really want to get into is his actual play beyond the stats, because it reveals why performances like Game 1 versus the Heat, where he had just 18 and 37 minutes with just 12 shot attempts, are even possible. So yeah, when it comes to Giannis' actual game, this flaw by the mention may not show in his scoring average, but it for sure shows in the playoffs against good teams, and that is that his offensive arsenal is very limited. In the regular season, he was the league leader in transition buckets at 8.3. I mean, we all know how dangerous a 6'11" slashing beast like Giannis is on a fast break. But how about in just half-court offense when defense is actually set up better to prevent a dominating drive? This is where Giannis becomes more human, as he has a very limited actual post game and a non-reliable jumper. And it's kind of funny because I remember a couple years back during Giannis' actual come up, and us NBA fans were salivating at the idea of how dangerous Giannis would be with a decent perimeter game, jump shot, and all that. And Giannis probably heard some of this chatter because you can tell he focused on this aspect of his game in recent years as he improved his three-point shot. But even still, I'd say his jumper is only trustworthy when the defense does not respect it and leaves him wide open, which does happen kind of often. But when there's even a little contest, this part of his game is basically useless. So really, all these years, Giannis should have been working on an actual post-game ability for when the slash and dominating drive is not available. Like, how did the addition of somewhat of a three-point shot get added to his game before a post-game, which is more traditional for his position of small forward and power forward anyway? On top of that, bro, how did this go unnoticed by so many NBA fans for years? I mean, actually, that's kind of simple. I mean, he was dominating without it in the regular season at least, so it was easy to pay the absence of a post-game no mind. But no, not anymore, man. The Greek Freak is definitely lacking in this area, and he gonna need a post-game. Leave that perimeter stuff up to the organization as they provide you with shooters and all that. Because as good as it sounds, I mean, it does sound good, I cannot lie, but it was never too realistic. Tall players with a jumper like KD Ben had that before the NBA. They didn't just develop it after making the league. That's not easy at all. But yeah, like I was saying, regardless of how well the Bucks did this season, although I was surprised they were upset by the Heat in this year's playoffs, after watching the series, I really shouldn't have been, because with Giannis against the Raptors last year and against the Heat this year, his methods of scoring did not change, and he struggled against the common defense used against him by good teams of just forming a wall in the half court. I mean, take it from respected NBA vets like Steven Jackson. The recent clip I'm about to show y'all is in reference to Michael Porter Jr., not Giannis, but still the way he talks about the game applies to Giannis nearly just as much.
Now, if y'all watching the playoffs since it's on, as you see, some of your favorite regular season players, and there's a lot of them, their games are limited. In regular season, they're getting their stuff off, but when the playoffs come and teams key in and lock in on what they do best, they can't score in other ways. And a lot of players these days falling in love with the long ball, shooting the ball from half court. I'm telling you this, bro. You have to continue to practice and learn how to score in more than one way. The best players, the ones that win championships, they know how to score in more than one way. You can't stop them just on a pick and roll. They're going to post you up. They're going to pull up. Like it's a million ways to score. There's just some free game to the youth. Pay attention. Your favorite player ain't what you think he is. Keep working on your game, fam.
Perfect example. One thing he said, falling in love with a long ball. I already covered it really. And no, Giannis does not take deep threes, but honestly, any three for his position is a deep three. And yes, in today's game, it's not actually that uncommon for your power forward to have threes in their arsenal. But man, be real, it's not for Giannis, and we can see that. Anyway, before I wrap up this vid and briefly cover my opinion on this leaving or staying Milwaukee drama, I'm going to answer the question in the title as to whether or not Giannis choked. And this is how I'm going to put it. At a glance, you're the 1 seed, reigning MVP, play less than you're capable of, so I guess that's a choke. But to me, not really. And why? Well, because regardless of his regular season success, his current game was never really meant to go deep in the playoffs if he does not have a duo reliable big-time partner with a great perimeter game. And know as solid as Chris Middleton is, he does not fit that role. Y'all may and probably will think otherwise, so make sure to tell me in the comment section, but I just cannot see it as a choke when, I mean, this is how he always plays. It just doesn't work in the playoffs. But also, as far as whether or not Giannis will leave this season off a trade or in 2021 NBA free agency, I'll be a little subtle in my answer because I don't know if I'm going to make a more in-depth vid later on. But to me, it's wide open because look, him and following his teammates is something he apparently also did last year just to clear his mind off basketball, which it does make sense. And he said on multiple occasions, even recently, that he will not leave and wants to build something in Milwaukee. However, we know Giannis is a competitor and really wants to win. Plus, teams aren't that loyal to players, even stars sometimes, and it is a business at the end of the day. So if Giannis' patience runs out this coming season, just say goodbye. But yeah, bro, that's it for me, man. I really appreciate y'all watching. Subscribe if you're new. Like this up, share it, and I'm out.